overflowing with tulips and tiny floral details. Every flower opens a little differently, like a dense storybook garden. And the deeper you look, the more textures and hidden little moments appear. You can also download the full paper and printable coloring line art on Coffee. At the beginning, I honestly didn't fully know what every flower was going to become yet. I mainly just wanted the screen to feel full immediately. So I started by blocking in loose color shapes first, especially for the tulips and leaves. At this stage, I wasn't thinking about the details yet. I was mostly thinking about placement, balance, color rhythm, and how to make the composition feel dense from edge to edge. I really wanted this to feel like a no-limit floral arrangement, where flowers just continue endlessly outside the frame. Some tulips are opening, some are still rounded, some are tilted sideways, and some are almost disappearing behind the others. That variation became really important because it helped the bouquet feel alive instead of repetitive. Even in the earlier stage, I tried to avoid empty space. I wanted every corner to already feel colorful and crowded, like a maximalist flower world slowly growing outward. Once the first color blocks were placed, I started going flower by flower and building the second layer. This part is honestly one of the most relaxing parts for me, because this is where the flowers begin getting their weight, texture, thickness, and personality. I started adjusting the petals individually, adding darker edges, softer blended centers, and directional brushstrokes to suggest how each tulip curves and folds. Some petals needed sharper contrast, others needed softer smudging so they could feel thicker and more velvety. I kept asking myself whether each flower felt full enough, because tulips have this really soft and heavy presence when they bloom. So I didn't want them to feel flat, I wanted them to feel rich layered, and saturated with color. The smudging here became really important too, especially for blending the transitions inside the petals, while still keeping visible brush texture on top. As more flowers were added, the center slowly became heavier and denser. You can especially see that with the purple hyacinth near the foreground. Even though the tulips are technically the main subject, the hyacinth becomes this visual anchor because the purple is so deep and concentrated. And I actually like that imbalance because it creates visual movement. Your eyes don't stay in one place, they keep wandering around the painting. Some flowers are large and soft, others are tiny and fragmented. The smaller clustered flowers became important because they create contrast against the larger ones. The tulips feel broad and calm, while the tiny flowers create vibrant and texture. That contrast helped the bouquet feel more immersive and visually dense. At this stage, I also kept layering green behind the flowers so the bouquet would feel packed instead of separated. I didn't want individual objects floating around. I wanted everything overlapping, touching, weaving together, almost like the flowers are competing for space. Near the end, I basically started traveling around the painting one flower at a time. This is where the artwork really transformed into the dance maximalist floral world. I added sharper petal edges, tiny texture marks, layered highlights, little shadow accent, and more directional strokes across leaves. By the end, the whole composition started to feel less like a bouquet and more like a crowded floral universe. Every corner has something happening. Different textures, different flower shapes, different rhythms, different density. And that visual overlay Thank you so much for playing with me today. If you'd like to keep this artwork, you can download this 16 to 9th wallpaper and printable coloring line art on my Ko-fi. You can also explore more of my artwork on Behance. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.